We've just fallen into a funky spot with WoW. Let me explain. In every time loop movie and story, the hero eventually realizes that what they were doing was wrong and they find a way out. Not Blizzard. We're now watching them make the same mistakes every few months, and I genuinely hate to say that patch 12.1 is no different. Ish. Because in a way, it's very different. Because unlike minor patches that have came out with issues like the 0.5s and the 0.7s, this is a major patch. And we have literally never had a major patch launch with such insanely broken things. And the worst part about that is a bunch of the new patch is actually brilliant when it works. But first, a story you'll find kind of shocking from Blizzard's home state. And that's that California regulators just hit a data broker called National Public Data with the maximum fine, and that's because of a breach that reportedly exposed 2.9 billion records. That's why I run today's sponsor, Incogni. Now, the fine was, by the way, for not registering the data breach, so, that's even worse. And the breach reportedly exposed people's names and social security numbers. That's really bad, and Incogni's really good because they hunt down the data brokers holding your personal information and they file removal requests on your behalf. That means that people won't be able to go to those data brokers and, buy your information, or if those data brokers happen to be breached, well, your info will have been taken down. But of course, they will recollect if they can, so Incogni continually rescans to ensure your data is kept down. And on the dashboard, you see who's been contacted, who's actually removed you, and where you're still exposed. And if you take a look at my dashboard, you can see that there are hundreds of requests and hundreds of successful ones. Now, they cover a wide range of these outfits. And for me, it's important because my name and face are public. My address, lots of other things, they don't need to be. Now look, no one defense is a magical solution. The best defense is a layered one, and I think Incogni is a vital layer to have in your internet defenses. And that's because they can shrink how many brokers are carrying your name, your address, your phone, your email, all around the internet. That just means there's less threat surface area that you are exposed to. Now, viewers of this channel get 60% off the annual plan at incogni.com/bellularwarcraft. That's incogni.com/bellularwarcraft, code bellularwarcraft. The link is down below. With that said, let's get back to it. I'm going to start it off light and breezy with the less serious things that broke, though it is kind of wild what broke. As an example, if you logged in and found that your character felt different to play, that its turn speed changed, either on the ground or while skyriding, well, don't worry, you are not alone. Something's gone awry in Blizzard's end with character settings, which has also messed with skywriting. Now, some people are reporting success by setting one of the settings back to the default value of 180 with console commands. Some say they need to set it to 190 first and then back to 180. Then it'll work. It's a weird situation, but an important one. Nothing is more important to a game than how the character you play controls, and with this patch it broke for loads of people. Other less important things, of course, did break as well. We've got the likes of Bluff, where the elevators are missing, so good luck if you're a new player who thinks the Tauren are cool. Then with player housing, it maybe seems something broke again, and the same goes for rune forges for Death Knights, where the Legion version of Arcturus has got no visible rune forges. You can use the Runeforge, it's just you won't be able to see it. Probably a housing-related thing, just like the elevator in Siege of Orgrimmar from the last time there was housing changes. And it may even be that the new pet features for housing have led to pet battle dungeons apparently being broken as well. Now that's all just a tiny sampling, because everywhere you look, there are mixed reports of minor to medium problems. Things like Ruby life pools being broken on Heroic, one of the Shadow Enclave Delve variants being broken, the Alliance Garrison Mine being broken, boss doors are staying locked after kills, Shadowlands achievements aren't working, and the Focus Quest pop-up is absolutely tormenting everyone. It's just issue after issue, which nowadays is part of playing WoW. Now, of course, software has bugs. I get that. Minor issues are generally excusable, but the issue is it doesn't end there. Because on a more serious note, more people are reporting crashes and disconnects. Our guild's warrior sometimes crashes when he looks at world quests. It's pretty bad out there for current players, but of course, returning and new players are facing genuinely broken content at every turn. And that's because whatever they're doing in Midnight appears to be reliably breaking quest and event scripting all across the old game. But the thing is, all that stuff I just reported was present since patch day. But of course, WoW patches have a second patch day, and that is the day that the new season launched. and this is the one that really stands out.
This is the worst day one thing we have experienced ever by a lot.
That's Max talking about the race to world first, though it's very much not just a top-end player issue. In the new raid, we've got unkillable bosses, we have RP scenes that stun the entire raid until the raid disbands, insane lag that makes the game unplayable, and emergency hotfixes cutting massive, truly massive amounts of HP off end bosses. Battle.net servers were down at EU primetime. The Omnium Folios effects have also started pulling entire dungeons full of mobs on top of players, bricking tons of Mythic Plus keys. And we're seeing legions of complaints about overwhelming trash in the raid, and odd things like the raid not counting toward the campaign quest. Then there's other things like normal and heroic seemingly being way harder than usual, given of course the huge cuts that they had to make to later on boss health. It seems that they just did not have enough time to just run the numbers and balance this raid. We have other problems though, like players not getting all 4 sparks like they should have, and getting massively confused over the tracker currency showing you not how many you have, but how many you are supposed to have. What it all amounts to is death by 1,000 cuts. That's the only way to describe this, really. Almost no one has logged in and been unscathed. I've seen a few bugs. None of them were particularly egregious, but was still kind of annoying. Though I'd be more than just kind of annoyed if it was my raid night and my social time with my friends getting sunk by the raid being busted. And then there's power scaling in Mythic Plus. If you go into Mythic Plus, you can kind of gigapool entire rooms. Solo and world content does work fine now, which is good, but that's because they had a week to rush out barebone fixes. And even then, you'll be hit by lag or Battle.net outages. It is rough, and to be fair to Blizzard, and especially fair to the developers thrown onto this issue, many of the problems were fixed within a few days, as is expected. But it does mean that once again, patch day has been poisoned. And that is an experience WoW just cannot afford to be giving its paying customers. Bugs are one thing, but I don't think they're really the problem. All this haste is making Blizzard fall into making the same mistakes at the design level. It's almost like they're not actually learning anything, which is a depressing sentiment to have. But honestly, given the track record over the last 2 years, and it now happening to a major patch, not just a minor patch, that is, I think, the only sentiment that's reasonable now. And that's especially because I haven't even dove into some of the worst of it, because there's very likely content that you're completely missing. Did you know about the curse part of the Curse of Ula'tek? What exactly are curse surges? Now, if you don't know the answer to that question, I don't blame you. Basically, they start every 45 minutes and they're over in about 3 minutes, so there's a decent chance you've literally never seen one of these happen or never even noticed it on your world map. Now, that would be a problem because you need to do 3 of them for the weekly quest, which basically just means either setting reminders via the in-game event window, which is a great bit of UI, or just flying around the island for a few hours hoping you are in the right place at the right time. There's no warning or startup period like there is with most event spawns in the map, so if you don't keep your eye on the clock, you will miss it. And if you're down in the vaults, well, when you hit your map key, you're not going to see it if it is active. Meaning, yeah, most people, I'd reckon, don't even know this feature exists. Plus, as many have pointed out, there's an achievement for doing 300 of these. Initially, it was 300, and that would have meant that to get the Cursebreaker title, you would have had to spend 225 hours, aka 300 events, which is a lot of time. Now, of course, if we average those out to 5 minutes, it would still take you 25 hours of actual gameplay. Gameplay that would involve doing 5 quick events over and over and over again, once every 45 minutes, for 25 hours. Thrilling. Now, of course, Blizzard have fixed this. The achievement now needs 150, and progress in each is a lot slower, which means you've actually got time to go to the event. Job done then. Forget about it until the next time we need to make the same fix in the next patch. Great. And I say that because it's not like it's Blizzard's first time shipping a feature with these massive flaws. These glaring issues that are apparent a mile away, that are pointed out on PTR, but that don't get fixed before launch, meaning that we ultimately are paid beta testers for this game. Which doesn't really feel great, because of course, we're not being paid, we're paying them to beta test their own game. Now, of course, when you think about it, there's a chance they had an idea here. The real grind of the patch is down in the vaults. And by the way, it is an excellent bit of old-school MMO grindy goodness. So maybe they just wanted you to use the event tab to set reminders and hop out of the vaults every 45 minutes as a break. Sure, I like the idea, but the sloppiness means you've made a major weekly quest for your expansion a nightmare for people staring at a blank quest marker, and now you've had to rush to fix up the situation. So it's a bit weird upstairs. But that's not to say that downstairs in the vaults has not had its issues. It certainly has. Ones like strikes and incursions breaking. But we can at least chalk those up to patch day server nonsense that they did thankfully iron out rather quickly. And what that amounts to is yet another patch where it feels like Blizzard's team have had to absolutely sprint to the finish, and even doing that, have not had enough time to make sure that the patch releases at a good level of quality. Though that's certainly not the end of today's news, because, as it turns out, the game is haunted. If the single button assistant isn't enough for you, how about fully auto-piloted characters? No, that's not a feature in the game, and it probably won't be, but it was actually happening this week. A group running Ruby Life Pools had their evoker disconnect, but then something weird happened. The evoker kept on playing, even though they weren't connected to the game. It was not doing great damage, but it was actually hitting buttons. It wasn't just auto-attacking, it was even healing, and it even cast Rescue on another player. Seeing the story break, everyone jumped to the same conclusion. Blizzard must be testing out some new anti-disconnect tech, maybe by giving their NPC player AI the controls of your character should you DC, so that maybe in the time it takes for you to log back into the game, you haven't completely screwed your group. A really good theory, but not quite. Zorbix announced a fix to this, and said that in Blizzard they thought that the AI was somehow hijacking people's characters, but the problem ended up being something else. Hopefully he gets around to doing a write-up, because I don't like thinking about AI ghosts on the servers. Who knows, but personally I like to believe it's the entity from the last 2 Mission Impossible movies, just getting hooked in World of Warcraft instead of being an evil villain. Our next oddity is less of a bug and more of a weird oversight, though it's led to a lot of people doing a lot of degen gameplay. And it's all enabled by Valeera's new curio, Dundun's Favor. Dundun's Favor lets you loot curios mid-combat to deal some damage, and you do that by just running over them. That's the mechanic that enables our oversight. The oversight itself comes from Blizzard turning off Valeera's XP gain this week, except from these curios. Plus, the new Ring of Glory delve has the curios located close together with very few mobs. Now, do you see where I'm going with this? Power leveling. People are power leveling Valeera by running around this delve for literally hours on end. It's crazy. All you do is grab Dundun's Favor, which you'll do as you're unlocking your delve tiers all the way up to 11. You just keybind this leave delve macro, and then you just run over all of the curios and just keep on doing it until Valeera hits level 80. It's fast and easy, but comes at the cost of 5 or 6 hours of your life being spent running around in circles. So in my view, not worth it. Though to many, the power is absolutely worth it because it will help them getting the Hall of Fame Delve achievement for beating Ula'tek. So that's a weird situation going on with Delves, but to follow it up, we've got a weird situation going on with our boy Astalor. One player, Jaden, has already done what a lot of people wish they could. Become the Servant of Astalor. That's the title for maxing out the Prey renown in Season 2. And if you want to know just how much devotion this took, here's a clue. Jaden has made an Astalor plushie and commissioned a custom Astalor body pillow. Clearly, won't a taste. Now, it took 80 hunts per level, all the way from level 2 renown up to 10 renown. That's 640 hunts. That's because the random hunt feature is unlocked at rank 2, and those give 50 rep each. She ran 640 normal hunts, taking 2 to 5 minutes each, and within each hunt, almost all the progress was from clicking traps and clicking on the anguish blobs. Being a druid helped out too, for a bunch of reasons, but even then, this was somewhere in the range of 30 to 40 hours of repetition. Now that should not have been possible for Season 2, because, well, Season 2 hadn't really been out for long enough to do that. And that is because, mistakenly, this renown was opened up earlier, and that meant that you could just chain run the randoms for 50 rep each. Now, to be honest with you, for everyone's sake, I hope this one isn't rolled back for this player, even if it does technically have a gearing benefit, because at rank 9 you unlock a way to get extra hero gear from the Prey feature. She may actually be the only player in the world able to make use of that, because it doesn't seem anyone else fully made use of this renown being opened a week earlier than it should have been. And that is of course the case. You'll notice that the Delver's Journey for Season 2 only opened up when Season 2 started, which was not the case for Prey. And obviously, if it was just cosmetics, it wouldn't really matter, it would just be a little thing, but in this case, it is inconsistent. This time, Astalor rewards gear, and his renown was lying wide open, while the Delve Journey was still locked. Obviously, less important now because Season 2 is out, but it does highlight the somewhat slapdash nature that this game is being built with. We've had a fun enough time today looking at all the chaos that's emerged from the patch. Now in the long term, none of this stuff really matters in strictly an internal gameplay sense. At least that's what Blizzard will probably say to justify it. There were issues, we fixed the issues, there you go. And maybe they're right. I mean, dungeons can be rebalanced, bosses can be nerfed, character problems can be corrected over time. But here we are, our third patch of Midnight, and the third patch where playing on launch day would have basically been a mistake. And this sort of thing is important for the game, except that playing in patch day maybe wouldn't be a mistake. It clearly is important because if you don't play in patch day, well then you may miss out on exploits, or FOMO things like getting fabled Astalor. These nightmarish launches take away from what should just be pure good vibes. And that's because much of the patch is great. Hell, the main patch story, even if we ignore the absolute disaster of an ending, was actually pretty damn good, up until we found out that's where it just stopped and how it just stopped. Many of the campaign quests were detailed and atmospheric in the ways that I desperately would love WoW to lean into more. And sure, there are quibbles elsewhere. The Vault's talents could be a bit more engaging, but the actual content down there is a really well-placed MMO grind that makes you feel like you are in a big world full of other people all playing the game together, which is awesome. Season 2 absolutely has a chance of being a resounding success between, say, the raid gear buffs and the eventually great dungeons, but instead, people are all over Reddit and forums frantically asking how to fix their game, how to make their character move correctly, turn correctly, or perhaps raging at Blizzard for making the same mistakes over and over and over again. I know WoW is an old and complicated game, but it feels like the fabric of the game is just unraveling more and more with each patch. How do elevators go missing without anyone noticing? Do they not have an automated test suite that can find out this sort of problem? Because you can do things like that. It's all rather bizarre and a little depressing, because honestly, I'm loving patch 12.1 as I play it so far. I am excited for the raid, as always. But I am getting too tired of release day being a showcase of things that are going wrong, and I think a lot of people might feel the same way. There's a reason we say that first impressions count, and by now, our first impression of multiple patches back-to-back has been that World of Warcraft is a game barely held together. And if it's anything like recent times, well, now we will wait. We maybe get another apology from Ian where he says, once again, that there is not any major problem, that the 8-week patches are actually just fine, and the next time there will be better. Maybe he'll follow it up by saying that there is indeed no war in Ba Sing Se. Time and time again, the same line has been wheeled out, but the action has obviously not came. Results are what matter here, not intent. Especially so because this is a game people pay a subscription fee to play. I've said it before and I will say it again. This way of making the game might be working for now, but there's no way these devs are able to do interesting and creative work when they're being sent into the panic trenches for 1 or 2 weeks out of every 8 weeks that they work. That's what I'm afraid of, more than a buggy patch day. A game that ultimately isn't as good as it could be, and a development team that constantly feels like the burdens of an insane production schedule sabotages their ability to do good work, and that when they do good work, there's every chance that bugs and issues likely that exist because this is all way too rushed, that means that players can't appreciate that work, which really sucks. Because while there are many warts, it's also true that World of Warcraft is packed full of fantastic work and great things from so many people. And that's why it really stings to see it all be let down by a continual cadence of buggy, sometimes broken patch launches. This cannot continue. It started about halfway through Dragonflight, I would say, and it seems that the trend line has only gotten worse.